So right now you understand what is par value shares 面额股 and what is not par value shares 无面额股. Okay, so you understand the basic concepts about the shares. Right now we talk about another thing is about outstanding. What does it mean, outstanding? So go to your slide 32. Slide 32. This is the whole structure we want to talk about in chapter 12. So for the whole structure, always, what's the first issue you want to talk about? Issue shares. When you need the money, you will issue shares to get the cash from investors. Okay? So issue shares to get the cash from investors. Right now, you should understand, when you issue shares, we have two kind of shares, right? So what are these two kind of shares? The two possibilities you could have when you issue the shares. You could issue ordinary shares, right? 普通股 to get the cash from ordinary shareholders, 普通股股东 or you could issue preference shares, 特别股 to get the cash from preference shareholders, right? So you could issue either way. Depends on, do you want to get more boss or not? You want to get more bosses, then you should issue ordinary shares, right? Because ordinary shares, you will get more bosses. Okay? When you decide to issue preference shares, means what? They are not your boss. So you just need to pay dividends to preference shareholders. Okay? So before you issue shares, you should understand, do you want to get the more bosses or you don't want? Because they will make your company have a different situations, right? More bosses means what? More bosses means more people, more investors could make the decisions for the companies. More preference shareholders, you just make sure you could give the dividends. That's it. So they are not your bosses. So they don't have any relationship with your companies. You just make sure you give them dividends. So it's totally different situations. So it's a big issue, big decision your company have to think about. You want to issue ordinary shares or you want to issue preference shares? Totally different situation. Okay? So that's the first issue. After that, no matter is ordinary shareholders or preference shareholders, we have to pay dividends, right? So each period, you have to pay dividends to your two shareholders. Remember, you should pay dividends to whom first? Preference shareholders, right? So when we pay the dividends, second issue, make sure you should pay dividends to preference shareholders first. Okay, because preference shareholders they have dividend preference, 股利优先权, right? So that's their first preference. First priority is dividend preference, 股利优先权. So make sure you should pay the dividends to them first. Okay, any questions? So that's the first issue. We mentioned the concept already. Second issue, the concept. We covered the concept already. After you issue the shares to ordinary shareholders, preference shareholders, after you issue sold the shares to them, in the future, could we buy back the shares? Yes, you could. Someday, if you don't need too many shareholders, you could give them the money, buy back your shares. Like what? Like a bond, right? When you issue the bond, could you buy back the bond? Of course, issue the bond because you need the money, borrow money from creditors. So you issue the bond. In the future, when you have the money, could you give them the money, buy back your bond, pay the debt? Of course. The shares, the same. In the future, when you don't need too many shareholders, you could return the money back to them, buy back your shares. Okay? So for the last two issues, we talk about buy back your bond. Buy back your shares from shareholders. After issue the shares, you could buy back your shares from shareholders. Okay? Any questions? Okay. So for first issue shares to ordinary shareholders, preference shareholders. Issue shares for this part. Usually, we have to tell you how to recall it accounting way, right? What's the debit, what's the credit? But because we don't have the time, so you just understand the concept is enough. So about the debit credit, we skip that part. So for your slide 33, for ordinary shares, preference shares, when you issue preference shares, ordinary shares, how to recall it? What's a debit? What's a credit? We skip it. Okay? So skip the slides from your 33 to 55. We skip that part. So please go to slide 56. We talk about the last two issues when we buy back the shares from investors, when we buy back the shares from shareholders. Okay, so slide 56, we'll talk about this part. Buy back shares from shareholders. Okay? So you don't need to understand debit credit. You just understand the concept. It's enough for you guys. So for this situation, when you buy back the shares, we call it treasury shares, 库藏股. So treasury shares, 库藏股, means you buy back your shares from investors. So that's what we mean. 库藏股, treasury shares, means buy back your own shares. Okay? So, on your slide 58, what does it mean, treasury shares? Your company's own shares. That's your shares, not other company shares. Remember, your shares. Before you issue, right? You issue the shares to shareholders. Right now, you decide to buy back from shareholders. Also, the shares after you buy back from shareholders, you got the shares, right? You keep it in your company, so now retired. So what's the 4 keywords? Remember, you issue the shares. After you issue the shares in the market, right? Then, issue your own shares. So your own shares, that's yours, not other companies. So your own shares, you issue, sell to the market. So second is issued means you sold to investors. Okay? Then later on in the future, you decide to buy back your shares from shareholders. So after you buy back from shareholders, you just keep it in your company, not retire. Not retire means what? Still make it valid. You are going to use it in the future. So you just keep it in the company because in the future you are going to use it. So not retired. Not retire means keep in the company for future use. So remember, treasury shares, 库藏股, 4 keywords. What are these 4 keywords? First, that's your own shares. That's your company shares, not other companies. You issue to the market. You sold to the investors before. Right now, you decide to buy back, but now retire. You keep it in the company for future use. Okay? So for keyword, 1, that's your company shares. You issue sold to investors before. Right now, you decide to buy back. So they keep in your company. Now retire because you are going to use it in the future. So they still useful. Okay? So 4 keywords. So this is your treasury shares. Okay? Any questions? No problem? Okay, for example, we mentioned the case before, right? Unissued shares still in your company haven't sold to investor yet 6. Before you need the money, so you sold 4 shares to investors. So these 4 shares in the market, right? Right now, today, you decide to buy back the shares from shareholders. So I decide for these 4 shares, I decide to buy back 1 share. Okay? So when you decide to buy back 1 share, then how many shares shareholders have? Only 3, right? Because you buy back 1. So where is the 1? You buy back. So that should be in your company. So this 1 share, we call it treasury shares. So what is treasury shares? First, this is your own shares, right? This is your shares. So your own shares. This 1. 2, you sold before, right? You sold to the market before, right? 3, right now you decide to buy back because of some reasons. 4, you keep it in the company, not retire. So still, this 1 is valid, 有效的. This 1 is still in your company. It is in your company for future use. Okay? So in your company, okay, so this is treasury share, 库藏股. So where is your treasury shares? In your company. Any questions? No problem? So based on this, could you tell me authorized shares, how many? 核定股数 authorized shares, how many? 10, right? So what's the 10? Totally maximum shares you could sell, including unissued, right? So how many unissued? 6. How many issued? 4. No matter this 4 is in the market or in the company, but you sold to the shareholders 4, right? So before you sold 4, right? But right now you buy back 1, 3 in the market. Okay? So authorized shares is 10, including 6 in your company unissued, including 4 you sold to the shareholders before, right? Okay. Based on this, could you tell me we sold 4 shares, right? Right now, you decide to buy back 1 shares, okay? So how many in the market? How many in the company? For that 4 issue shares. 3 in the market, right? 1 in your company, okay? So for that 3 in the market, we call it outstanding shares. 在外流通股数. Outstanding shares means your shares in the market. Okay? So for that 4 shares, for these 4 shares, you could put them into 2 situations. First situation is outstanding shares. 在外流通股数 the shares in the market. Second part is what? That's your issue shares, but right now they are in the company. So we call it treasury shares. The shares in the company. Okay? So totally how many issue shares? Before I sold 4 shares, right? Right now, in the market, only 3. 1 in your company, because you buy back that 1 share, we call it treasury shares. Any questions? So for they issue shares for shares, you should understand is in the market or in your company. In the market, we call it outstanding shares. In your company, we call it treasury shares. Okay? So let's go back to here. For these three shares in the market, these three shares in the market, we call it outstanding shares. For this one share in the company, we call it treasury shares. Okay, any questions? No problem? Then, we talk about this on your slide 29, right? So slide 29. Here, outstanding. So what does that mean, outstanding? Means outstanding means your issue shares in the market. So right now you should understand outstanding, what does it mean? Means the issued shares in the market. Okay? So this is the shares in the market. So also means they are your shareholders. Okay? Because shareholders keep the shares. So they are your shareholders. Okay? Any questions? So right now you note what does it mean for each term. If you don't have any questions, you should understand what does it mean treasury shares, 库藏股. So go back to slide 61. So slide 61 here told you authorized shares 10, right? On issue 6 in your company. So for that 4 issue shares, you should understand where it is. These 4 issue shares in your company, we call it treasury shares because you buy back the share and keep it in your company. Other 3 shares in the market, we call it outstanding shares. Okay? Then why your company want to buy back the one share? What's the reason you buy back your own share? Okay? So what's the reason? 2 major reasons. Your company decide to buy back that one treasury share. First is you need your own share to do something. So I buy back that one share because I'm going to use that one share do something in the future. So that's the first reason. Second reason, when I buy back my own shares, I could make my company's performance better. Okay? How to do that? So this is the 2 major reasons why we buy back our own share. First reason, I needed one share to do something. So why you needed one share to do something? Usually, you are going to give that one share to your employees. Like what? Especially for high-tech company. High-tech company, 高科技公司, when they will give their employees bonus, not only cash, Also, they will give them shares. So have you heard about that? For high-tech company, they will give their employees, especially Zainan, the cash and also their company shares, right? So if you go to Hsinchu, we have so many Zainan with so many shares. So they are very rich, you know. So that's one of the reasons because your company need their own shares to give it to their employees as a bonus. Try to keep their employees work for them. Okay, so that's the first reason. Second reason why you need your own shares to do something. So you need your share to do something. First is give it to your employees. Second is use it to buy other companies. So acquisition of other companies means try to use it to buy other companies. So do something. Do what? Do something. First is give it to your employees. Second reason is use shares to buy other companies. Okay? So do something. Do what? Give it to employees. Use shares to buy other companies. Okay? When you try to buy something, it's not always pay the cash. So when I try to buy something, except paying cash, I could pay the shares to make they become our shareholders. So this is another way. For example, your company try to buy other company. Okay? So other company, what is other company's value? Remember, book value $70. What does it mean, book value? Means the value on accounting books, right? So when you look at book value $70 means what? Means the value on accounting books. So remember, what's the value for market value? What does it mean, market value $80? Means based on this company's assets, liabilities, the market given the value is $80. Okay? So market value means the value on the market, $80. Okay? So what does it mean? You look at other company. Other company told you, based on other companies' financial statements, they told you their value is $70. But the same thing, when you ask the people in the market said, okay, should be $80. Okay? But what's the problem? How much money you are going to pay to buy this company? $100. You pay $100 want to buy the company. So purchase price, what does it mean? You paid 100 to buy other company. Okay? So what's the problem? You're an idiot? You're stupid? Why? Market told you $80. Why you are willing to pay 100 to buy it? Because you want to buy something important, but haven't report on financial statements. On financial statements, something very important. We cannot report it on financial statement. So what's that? Something important, but we cannot measure their value. What's that? Like a location. Important? Location is very important. Always you find out 7-Eleven, you find out family where? At the corner. Why? Always you find out 7-Eleven at the corner. 因为转角遇到爱。Because the corner is a very important location. You don't need to understand, it's okay. Like what? 元智 and 中原. Why? More students prefer go to 中原. Why? Because of night market, right? Because of location. So that's why. But they undervalue 原智大学. But anyway, here just want to tell you, location very important. But do you know how much for the location? Impossible to measure the value. Okay? So for many important assets cannot be measured. So that's why your company is willing to pay higher value, $20 more to buy this company because you want to buy their location, for example, or like what? Employees loyalty, important or not? 员工忠诚度 important or not? Very important. How much? You cannot measure it. So for this kind of things, that's why they are willing to pay $20 more. So they pay $20 more to buy very important but cannot measure, cannot be measured assets. 很重要，但不知道金额。Like what? Location. For example, location. For example, loyalty. 忠诚度 so on. So, they are not stupid. They find out very important but cannot be measured assets. So they are willing to pay more money. Okay? So what's the problem for 原智? We have so many important but cannot be measured assets. But the only one issue is they didn't find out. So for this kind of situation, we call it goodwill, 商誉. So 商誉 goodwill, we put all of this kind of situation. So this goodwill. We skip this part in chapter 10 for PPE. So goodwill is in chapter 10 PPE. But sorry, we don't have enough time to talk about this. But I tell you the concept here right now. So goodwill, 商誉. We put it goodwill to tell you this kind of situation. Okay? So it's quite very important intangible asset, 无形资产. If you're interested in this in chapter 10. So goodwill is like your reputation. It's very important. Okay, so that's why your company is willing to pay $20 more to buy goodwill, 商誉, to buy very intangible but cannot be major assets. Okay, so your company pay $100 to buy two things. What are these two things? First is other companies' market value. So you can find out the assets on financial statements. Second thing is the goodwill. You cannot find out on financial statements. So that's why your company paid $100 to buy two things. First is $80 on financial statements. Second thing is $20 goodwill, not on financial statements. Okay, anyway, after you determine the purchase price, you had to think about how to pay the $100, right? Easy way is what? Totally paid by the cash. But for real world, usually impossible to pay all the cash. Okay? So how to pay it? Second way is maybe I just pay $40 for cash. Others, I use my own shares to pay the $60. So because of this, you need your shares. So because of this, you have to buy back your own shares in order to give other companies your own shares. Okay? So this is the reason why you buy back your shares. So you buy back your shares because you are going to pay the $60 using your own shares. So that's why you had to buy back your shares. So you had to buy back your shares. You buy back your own shares. So what does it mean? It means treasury shares. Okay, so there's a reason to do something. Use the shares to buy other companies. Okay? Okay, so this is the major reason why we buy back our own shares, treasury shares, 库藏股, because we use it to do something. Second reason why we buy back our own shares, treasury shares, to make your company's performance better. Okay? So why to make your company's performance better? First is to increase your company share price. To increase your company share price. Increase share price. How to increase your company share price when today you think your share price is undervalued, 低估了. Okay? When you think your company share price is undervalued. Undervalued means what? You think you should have a higher value, but right now in the market, the value is too low. Okay? So you think the market undervalue, underprice means undervalue your share price. Okay? Undervalue your share price means what? Maybe in the market, share price only $20. Okay? So maybe right now share price is only $20 in the market. But you think should be $200. So you think, I know myself, I know my companies. So I know my company should be have a $200 share price. But the problem is, in the market think your company value only 20. So the situation is like a Yuanzi University. So what should we do? We will say too low the share price in the market. So we don't want to sell the shares in the market. So we decide to buy back the shares, to tell investors, to tell people in the market, the share price is too low. So we are willing to buy back the shares. Don't want you to keep the shares. Okay? So it's like a signal. Signal is like I released the information to the market. Tell them I'm willing to buy back the shares rather than trade it in the market. Okay? So it's like a signal. Signal 释放讯号. So release the information to the market. Okay, tell them, okay, it's undervalued, so I'm willing to buy back. So based on this, let market understand share price is undervalued. So maybe the investor will understand your signal. So they will increase your share price. They will willing to pay more money to buy your shares. Okay? So this is the first reason. Try to increase your share price. Second, when we buy back our shares, how to increase company's performance? After you buy back your company shares, you could increase earnings per share, EPS 每股盈余. So this ratio is very important ratio, EPS 每股盈余. So what is earnings per share, EPS 每股盈余? We use it to understand your company's profitability, 获利能力. Okay? So EPS means, on next slide, 67. EPS means to understand your company's profitability, 获利能力. We use that EPS to understand your company's profitability, 获利能力. How? Remember, usually when we want to know the company's profit, we look at which word, which number? Net income, right? So usually we use the net income to understand your company's profit. But net income is the total amount. Is the total amount, net income. Okay? But sometimes use the total amount is quite hard to compare other companies. Okay? That's why, based on the same logic, same concept, we don't use total amount. We use per unit, per share. So based on this, actually the same, but we use per unit, per shares. So we divide it by shares. You still can get the profit, but the number is per share. The profit for per share, 每股 per unit. Okay? So EPS actually will look at the same thing, but we look at per unit, per share. to find out your company's profitability, then this number is easier to compare with other companies. Okay? So that's EPS. Any questions? That's the basic concept, basic logic right here. But you should understand the profit, the profit, we should share dividends to whom first? Preference shareholders, right? So when we try to compute EPS, remember, based on net income, we should share some profit, some dividend to preference shareholders, right? So when we try to get this number, we want to know the profit for the boss only. So did you find out net income available to ordinary shareholders? Means what? After you pay the dividends to preference shareholders, others belong to the boss. So here means after paid dividends to preference shares. Okay? So you got the net income only belong to the boss. Okay? Then divided by shares. Also the shares belong to your boss. So should divide it by ordinary shares outstanding. Remember what does that mean outstanding? In the market. Because we try to get the number, the profitability for your boss. So we use the number only for your boss. For ordinary shareholders. For your boss. Then you will note how much money, what's the profit you made for your boss. Okay? Any questions? Then I give you one example. Go to slide 69. Slide 69. This example, we combined all the contents at the beginning. So today, if your company have two shares, right? One is preference shares, second is ordinary shares. How many shares you issued? 10 for your preference, 30 for your ordinary shares. So you issue 10 and 30 for your preference shares and ordinary shares. Both then have a same par value, $10. Okay? Today, you will earn the net income, $100. Remember, you should share dividends to whom first? Preference shareholders, right? Because they have the priority. But the $100, remember, will you pay all the money to dividends? No. You will keep, for example, $60 in the company. We call it what? Retained earnings, right? Remember? So for your net income, $100, if you keep $60 in the company, that's your retained earnings, right? Remember? Others, $40, you decide pay the cash dividends to shareholders. So for that $100, you just decide share profit $40. But don't forget, $40 dividends, you should pay it to whom first? Preference shareholders. So preference shareholders will get the dividends. How much? Don't forget, they get fixed same amount, right? So it should be, for example, 5% times par value times how many shares? 10, right? So preference shares have a 10 shares. So 5% times 10 par value times 10 shares. So you should give $5 to preference shareholders. Ordinary shareholders got what? Remaining how much? Total $40 dividends, right? Minus you give it $5 to preference shareholders. So for ordinary shareholders got dividends only $35. Okay? Any questions so far? Then how to compute EPS, earnings per share, based on net income, $100, right? But you give how much to preference shareholders? $5 already. So based on this, $5 preference shareholders, you give it to preference shareholders. Okay? So how many profit belong to your boss? 100 after $5 to preference shareholders. You have only $95 belong to your boss, right? So $95 means what? This is the profit belong to your boss. Only 95 profit belong to your boss. Okay? So your boss have only 95. Why? Because don't forget, $5 belong to preference shareholders. Okay? So there's a total profit you made for your boss. But right now, we try to get this number per unit, per share. So you should divide it by your boss shares, right? So your boss shares, how many? 30, right? So you have ordinary shares, 30. So that's why divided by 30 shares, that's your ordinary shares. So after that, could you find out for per unit, per share, you made a profit for your boss $3.2. Any questions so far? So you made a profit for your boss is $3.2. This is make the profit for your boss per unit. Okay, based on per unit per share. Any questions? So that's how we find out the profit for your boss. Each per share, they earn the profit $3.2. Okay? Based on this, if I want to make the EPS increase, how to do that? 95 divided by 30. How to make the number increase? Make the shares decrease, right? So how to make the shares decrease? You buy back the shares. So the shareholders will have the share will be decreased. Okay? So how to make the number decrease? Next page. You know? After you buy back, for example, if I buy back the shares 6. If I buy back the shares 6. So could you tell me your outstanding shares, the shares in the market will be only 24. Why is that? 30 minus 6, right? 6 is what? The shares you buy back. So this is your treasury shares. Okay? So did you find out? Your profit belong to the boss the same. So you didn't do anything. You just buy back the shares. You could make your EPS, did you find out? Increase. So make them think your profit, your performance better, but actually, no, you didn't. Your profit still the same, 95. You just buy back the shares. You could manipulate the numbers to make EPS increase. Okay? So there's another reason you want to buy back your shares. May your EPS increase. Did you find out from 3.2 become 3.96? Your EPS increase. So may they think your profitability better. Okay? So this is another reason you want to buy back the shares. Any questions? No problem? Then we stop here. I will tell you all the contents we will have for your final exam. Don't worry about that. But we stop here for your final exam. Any questions, please come to find me. Okay? So let's say for the whole year. Good luck for your final exam. Hope you have a good summer vacation. Okay? See you.